Amid the ongoing military conflict in Ukraine, North Korean troops have been deployed to support Russian troops. However, the situation for these troops in Russia's Kursk region is becoming dire. According to South Korean officials, more than 100 North Korean soldiers have been killed in combat operations, while many others are facing severe food shortages. This has led to urgent decisions by the Russian military to reallocate food rations from military reserves to aid them. Despite being part of the elite Storm Corps, these North Korean troops face logistical difficulties, leading to discontent and desertion. This reflects the challenging reality for the North Korean military in the current conflict. The Russian military has integrated North Korean forces into various combat and support roles across its operations, deploying them alongside Russian airborne units and Marines. These North Korean troops have been assigned to several Russian military formations, including the 22nd Motorized Rifle Regiment and the 810th Separate Marine Brigade. Intelligence reports confirm the presence of approximately 10,000 to 12,000 North Korean soldiers stationed in Russia's Kursk Oblast, many of whom belong to the elite 11 Corps, also known as the Storm Corps. This corps specializes in infiltration and sabotage operations, and these troops have reportedly been provided with Russian uniforms and identification documents to facilitate their deployment. However, the situation for these troops has become increasingly dire. Military intelligence has highlighted numerous cases of desertion, with Ukrainian sources indicating that 18 North Korean soldiers abandoned their posts in the Kursk and Bryansk oblasts, located just 7 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. To manage this, Russian commanders have reportedly attempted to suppress information about these desertions. The desertions have reached a level of desperation, with some North Korean soldiers choosing to take their own lives rather than face capture. The crisis among the North Korean troops has worsened due to severe food shortages. Just 5 months into their deployment, the situation has become critical, with many soldiers suffering from malnutrition caused by inadequate food rations. In response, Major General Mevlyutov was sent to address the emergency, and Russian authorities began distributing food rations from their military reserves, particularly from the 11th Airborne Assault Brigade, to sustain the North Korean forces. Despite their presence representing less than 1% of Russia's estimated 500,000 troops in Ukraine, the North Korean forces are facing mounting challenges. Casualties continue to rise, with reports confirming that 300 North Korean soldiers have been killed and approximately 2,700 others injured in combat operations. These conditions have cast a shadow over the effectiveness and morale of the North Korean military contingent deployed in support of Russia's ongoing conflict. The issue of food shortages in North Korea's military can be traced back to the catastrophic famine of the 1990s, which severely impacted the entire population, including the armed forces. Between 1994 and 1998, approximately 2 to 3 million people perished from starvation and hunger-related illnesses, and even the traditionally prioritized military struggled with extreme nutritional deprivation. This dire situation set the stage for ongoing challenges in ensuring adequate food for military personnel. Malnutrition among North Korean soldiers has been a recurring issue. A stark example occurred in the early 2000s when a military unit, originally consisting of 100 soldiers, was reduced to just 10 by mid-2004 due to severe malnutrition. As a result, several soldiers from this unit died from lack of proper nutrition, while others were sent home because they were too weak to carry out their duties. In another instance, half of the 20 soldiers from a high school class were sent home suffering from the effects of malnutrition. The typical diet of North Korean soldiers is meager and lacks variety. Their standard military ration consists mainly of basic corn and rice portions, salted radish, soybean paste soup, dried radish leaves, and occasionally vegetables grown near their military bases. Proper rations are typically provided only on major holidays, such as the birthdays of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. For the majority of the year, soldiers subsist on just 3 spoonfuls of grain per meal. Some bases with better supply lines may receive meat once a month, and pork is distributed during national holidays. But these rations are far from sufficient. This persistent shortage of food has taken a significant toll on the military's readiness. Soldiers mobilized for agricultural support tasks often prove ineffective, as many are too malnourished and weak to work a full 6-hour shift. To mitigate the food shortage, military bases attempt to supplement their supplies through farming activities, such as growing beans and raising goats. However, these efforts have not been enough to resolve the critical situation, with 5–6% of food-related human rights violations occurring on military bases. The food crisis has resulted in a cyclical pattern of deteriorating military effectiveness. Soldiers who become severely malnourished are granted leave to recover, often requiring assistance from their families just to walk. After regaining some strength, they return to duty, only to face renewed health problems due to the continued inadequate nutrition. This cycle of malnutrition and recovery has led to widespread physical weakness among the troops, significantly undermining their ability to perform vital military functions and further compromising the overall effectiveness of the North Korean military. Amidst reports of widespread desertion and severe malnutrition among North Korean troops deployed in Russia's Kursk region, Russian military leadership has been forced to implement emergency measures to address the escalating crisis. Major General Mevlyutov, the deputy commander for resource support of the Leningrad military district, was dispatched to the region to oversee and manage the situation, which had become increasingly dire. In response to the critical food shortages, Russian commanders have authorized the redistribution of individual rations from the 11th Separate Air Assault Brigade's reserves. These emergency supplies are intended to stabilize the deteriorating conditions among North Korean units stationed near the Ukrainian border, with the primary focus being to provide basic sustenance. This measure aims to prevent further desertions and maintain the operational readiness of the troops. To manage the crisis, Russian military leadership has employed a two-pronged approach. First, local commanders have made efforts to conceal desertion incidents from their superiors to avoid potential punitive consequences. Additionally, the command structure has been altered, incorporating North Korean units directly into Russian operational control. Soldiers from the 92nd and 94th Special Forces brigades have been integrated into existing Russian formations to streamline operations and maintain cohesion. In an attempt to prevent further desertions, the Russian military, in collaboration with North Korean authorities, has introduced stringent measures. These include the establishment of special surveillance teams tasked with tracking and apprehending deserters, as well as the implementation of a family hostage system, wherein at least one family member of a soldier must remain in North Korea to ensure loyalty. Further punishment protocols have been introduced, including the threat of sending extended families to work camps if soldiers abandon their posts. The situation became even more critical when 18 North Korean soldiers deserted their positions in the Kursk and Bryansk regions, prompting Russian commanders to increase their monitoring efforts. These troops, already struggling with unfamiliar combat conditions and language barriers, faced immense challenges in adapting to the demands of modern warfare, including drone operations and contemporary tactical requirements. In response to the growing challenges faced by North Korean forces in Russia, Russian commanders have adapted their approach by providing more comprehensive support structures for North Korean units operating in unfamiliar terrain. These efforts aim to address concerns over unit cohesion and combat effectiveness, as the North Korean forces struggle to adjust to the rapidly evolving demands of modern warfare. This ongoing crisis highlights the difficulties of integrating foreign military units into a complex, fast-moving conflict. Amidst these challenges, intelligence reports have revealed complex patterns of desertion among North Korean troops stationed in Russia's border regions, particularly within the 3rd Army Corps. A significant surge in desertions has been observed, especially among soldiers with less than 2 years of service, underscoring the severity of the situation. The combination of logistical struggles, lack of adequate resources, and the high pressure of adapting to modern combat environments has contributed to this growing trend of desertion, further complicating the Russian military's efforts to stabilize the situation and maintain operational readiness. Desertion incidents have been occurring both in mass and individual cases. One of the most notable mass desertions involved 18 North Korean soldiers who abandoned their posts simultaneously in the Kursk and Bryansk regions. On the other hand, individual desertions are often driven by severe mistreatment, food deprivation, or general disillusionment. Military intelligence from the General Staff Department has identified that younger recruits, particularly those with less than 2 years of service, are more likely to attempt escape as they struggle to endure the harsh conditions they face. In response to the growing number of desertions, the Russian military has implemented specialized tracking measures. These include the establishment of 10 3-person military police teams, each composed of 1 officer and 2 enlisted personnel, to track down deserters. These teams are strategically chosen based on the ability of their families to cover travel expenses, which are essential for recovery efforts. Additionally, dedicated units have been tasked with locating and returning deserters before the onset of winter training. Despite these efforts, local Russian commanders have attempted to conceal desertion incidents from higher authorities to avoid repercussions. The situation has become increasingly dire, as some North Korean soldiers, when faced with the prospect of capture, have resorted to extreme measures, including self-harm. Ukrainian special forces have reported several such incidents, where cornered troops chose death over surrender. Deserters face a complex array of challenges once they flee their positions. Military records show that many soldiers abandon their posts after being left without proper instructions or sustenance. The language barrier has further complicated matters, with some incidents resulting in friendly fire between North Korean and Russian forces as communication breakdowns exacerbate tensions. To counter the escalating desertion issue, the General Staff Department has enacted strict measures aimed at limiting the freedom of younger soldiers. These regulations prohibit soldiers with less than 2 years of service from performing solo duties or taking individual leave. The primary objective of these countermeasures is to prevent further desertions, ensuring that the operational capabilities of the forces stationed in the region are maintained despite growing difficulties. These new restrictions come at a time when North Korean forces deployed, alongside Russian units in Ukraine, are already facing severe operational challenges. Reports from South Korean intelligence indicate that 300 North Korean soldiers have been killed and another 2,700 have been injured, exacerbating the strain on their military effectiveness. As North Korean troops continue to struggle with adapting to modern warfare, these mounting casualties reflect the larger challenges faced in maintaining a capable fighting force. The strict new regulations are seen as part of a broader attempt to stabilize the situation, but they also underscore the ongoing difficulty of managing a force that is ill-equipped to handle the modern battlefield. One of the primary difficulties faced by North Korean forces is their struggle to adjust to modern combat elements. Their military doctrine, which is heavily rooted in strategies from over half a century ago, has proven largely inadequate against contemporary battlefield technologies. In particular, North Korean troops have struggled with drone warfare, as Ukrainian forces have successfully targeted large group formations that reflect outdated tactical approaches. Military analysts have pointed out that North Korean units are highly vulnerable to drone strikes, with many of their forces sustaining heavy losses due to their inability to effectively counter these modern technologies. Beyond technological challenges, the breakdown of unit cohesion has further hampered North Korean effectiveness. A major issue lies in the significant language barriers, with only 1 Korean translator assigned to every 30 North Korean soldiers. This communication gap undermines coordination between Russian and North Korean forces, exacerbating command and control issues. Additionally, cultural differences and the unfamiliar terrain of Ukraine, with its open plains contrasting sharply with the mountainous environments North Korean troops are trained for, have compounded these operational difficulties. In response to these challenges, Russian commanders have implemented several tactical modifications aimed at improving the performance of North Korean forces. These adjustments include integrating North Korean troops into smaller units, assigning them to both assault and support roles, and deploying them primarily as light infantry without armored vehicle support. The Russian military command has organized North Korean forces into 2 distinct groups: assault units and support units. Despite these efforts, the effectiveness of these troops remains limited by several key factors. North Korean forces lack ground combat experience, which severely hampers their ability to execute complex operations. Their training is centered on infiltration and assassination missions, leaving them ill-prepared for conventional warfare. Additionally, many of the troops appear young and physically undernourished, which further undermines their combat readiness. While North Korean forces demonstrate high levels of discipline, their lack of combat experience continues to diminish their battlefield effectiveness. The decision by Russian commanders to use North Korean troops in frontal assaults against well-defended Ukrainian positions without adequate rear fire support has led to significant casualties. This strategy has posed substantial operational challenges, requiring continuous tactical adjustments as commanders struggle to balance the need for additional manpower with the limitations of their North Korean allies. As a result, the situation has become increasingly complex and difficult for both Russian and North Korean forces operating together in Ukraine, with the toll of casualties further complicating their ability to maintain effective combat operations. Compounding these operational difficulties are the deteriorating conditions for North Korean troops deployed in Russia. Soldiers are facing extreme malnutrition and inadequate basic provisions, with reports indicating that many lose up to 10 kilograms within their first month of service due to insufficient nutrition and harsh living conditions. These dire conditions not only hinder their physical readiness, but also exacerbate the challenges on the battlefield. The combination of severe health issues, including weight loss and physical frailty, along with the operational strain of participating in high-risk assaults, has contributed to a growing humanitarian crisis among the North Korean troops. This situation highlights the broader complexities of integrating these soldiers into the Russian military effort, as both forces struggle to overcome significant logistical and health-related challenges. The living conditions of these soldiers are particularly dire. Their diet primarily consists of cracked corn and moldy cabbage, with minimal variety in their meals. Military authorities have recently launched investigations into the troops' nutritional status, prompted by widespread health concerns. Currently, soldiers receive only 3 spoonfuls of grain per meal, supplemented with a basic mix of bean powder and water 3 times a day, as well as pureed soybean soup 4 times a week. However, these rations fall far short of providing adequate nutrition, leading to a growing crisis. The cost of beans, which are a primary source of protein, has risen sharply from KPW 4300 to KPW 5000 per kilogram, exacerbating the food shortage. This shortage has led to a widespread issue of malnourishment, with approximately 40% of North Koreans, including those in the military, suffering from inadequate food intake. The health implications of this crisis are severe and far-reaching. Soldiers are experiencing significant weight loss, with some requiring treatment at recovery centers. Physical frailty due to malnutrition is severely affecting their combat readiness, and widespread health issues are leading to disruptions in training schedules. Many soldiers are also becoming increasingly vulnerable to diseases due to weakened immune systems, further compromising their ability to perform military duties effectively. The deteriorating health conditions have been so widespread that entire battalions have reported severe malnourishment within just 3 months of deployment. Military medical departments have noted significant numbers of soldiers missing training due to serious nutrition-related health problems, further highlighting the scale of the crisis. International concerns have also risen over the treatment of North Korean soldiers, particularly in the event of their capture. According to the Third Geneva Convention, prisoners of war are entitled to humane treatment, which includes protection from violence, public humiliation, and deprivation of necessary care. Ukraine has cooperated with international organizations, such as the United Nations and the International Committee of the Red Cross, to ensure that captured North Korean soldiers receive proper care and protection. However, the situation remains critical as humanitarian concerns extend beyond immediate care. If these soldiers are returned to North Korea, they face the risk of severe consequences, including enforced disappearance, torture, wrongful imprisonment, forced labor, or even execution. The principle of non-refoulement, which prohibits the repatriation of individuals to countries where they risk persecution or torture, has become a significant consideration in the case of North Korean deserters. In response to these concerns, Ukrainian authorities have expressed their willingness to protect North Korean soldiers seeking asylum, recognizing the serious human rights violations they would face upon repatriation. Ukrainian President Zelensky has indicated that alternative options may be available for captured North Korean soldiers who wish to avoid returning to North Korea, highlighting the international community's commitment to safeguarding their rights in the face of ongoing humanitarian challenges. Diplomatic tensions surrounding the involvement of North Korean troops in Russia have reached a critical point, prompting South Korea to summon Russian Ambassador Georgy Zinoviev. Seoul has demanded the immediate withdrawal of North Korean forces from Russian territory, following revelations from South Korean intelligence that approximately 1,500 North Korean soldiers, including special forces, have already arrived in Russia. This crisis has exacerbated the already strained relations between Moscow and Pyongyang, with Russia's denial of the reports adding fuel to the fire. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has dismissed the claims as another piece of fake news, while North Korean Ambassador Kim Song defended the bilateral relationship, asserting that both nations are entitled to develop relations in all fields. The foundation of this military cooperation between Russia and North Korea lies in a comprehensive strategic partnership pact signed by Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The agreement stipulates that both countries must provide military assistance with all means at its disposal in the event of armed aggression, solidifying their military and diplomatic ties. However, this cooperation has now drawn sharp international condemnation. Global reactions have been swift and severe. South Korea has pledged nearly $400 million in humanitarian aid to Ukraine in response to the deployment of North Korean troops. British Foreign Minister David Lammy condemned Russia's actions as reckless and illegal, while NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte warned that the involvement of North Korean forces would mark a significant escalation. The U.S. State Department expressed deep concern, with spokesperson Matthew Miller stating that the deployment signified a new level of desperation by Russia. In light of these developments, South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol has urged NATO to consider concrete countermeasures in response. At the United Nations, the situation has created unprecedented challenges in monitoring and enforcing sanctions. Russia's recent veto of the UN Panel of Experts mandate renewal marks a significant shift in the diplomatic dynamics, as this panel had been established to monitor violations of North Korea sanctions. With the panel's mandate now in jeopardy, the future of international oversight of North Korea's actions is uncertain. This diplomatic impasse is further compounded by Russia's status as a permanent Security Council member, which enables it to block any punitive measures against North Korea. As a result, the Security Council finds itself in what many are calling its most impotent position since the UN's inception in 1945. The crisis extends beyond immediate military concerns, highlighting the growing alignment between Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin. Their warming relationship accelerates the creation of a united front that undermines core global security institutions and challenges international norms. This shift in power dynamics poses significant obstacles to maintaining international order, as both countries actively work to counter Western influence. Meanwhile, China has maintained a cautious stance, urging all parties to seek de-escalation, but its decision to abstain from voting on the UN Panel of Experts mandate renewal reflects its complex balancing act in regional politics. As tensions continue to rise, the global community is left grappling with the consequences of these escalating diplomatic challenges. The defense treaty between Russia and North Korea marks a pivotal shift in global military alliances, with both nations pledging immediate military assistance in the event of armed invasion. This agreement, signed by Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, represents the most significant military partnership since the Cold War. The treaty symbolizes a deepening of ties between the two countries, establishing a framework for mutual defense cooperation and military support. However, the mounting desertion crisis within North Korean troops stationed in Russia poses a significant threat to the sustainability of this military partnership. Military analysts suggest that North Korea could potentially deploy up to 100,000 additional soldiers to Russia, yet the severe food shortages, logistical challenges, and operational inefficiencies undermine the feasibility of such large-scale troop deployments. These obstacles raise questions about the long-term viability of the defense treaty, as widespread desertion incidents and a breakdown in unit cohesion continue to strain the relationship. Despite the initial promise of enhanced military collaboration, the North Korean forces have displayed limited combat effectiveness, which has only served to exacerbate the strain on this partnership. The treaty mandates both nations to establish mechanisms to strengthen their defense capabilities, but the current crisis threatens these efforts. The growing international opposition to the military cooperation further complicates the situation, with pressure mounting on both Russia and North Korea to reconsider the terms of their collaboration. The shifting dynamics of military strategy are evident in the deployment patterns of North Korean forces. Since August 2023, North Korea has sent 13,000 containers of artillery, missiles, and conventional arms to Russia, with Moscow compensating each soldier at a rate of $2,000 per month. This arms trade has been critical in revitalizing North Korea's munitions industry, particularly missile manufacturing. and has provided a much-needed economic boost for the country. In return, Russia has supported North Korea in advanced weapons systems development, nuclear-powered submarine technology, and intercontinental ballistic missile expertise. This partnership has broader implications beyond immediate military support. North Korea gains valuable insights into modern warfare, particularly in drone technology and combat techniques. As their technicians travel alongside deployed missiles to gather operational data, these experiences are likely to shape North Korea's future deployment strategies and military capabilities. Furthermore, the agreement opens the door for increased technological cooperation, including exchanges in space and peaceful nuclear energy programs, which could further enhance North Korea's military and scientific capacities. Yet, the partnership is not without its external pressures. South Korea has pledged nearly $400 million in humanitarian aid to Ukraine, signaling growing opposition to the Russia-North Korea alliance. At the same time, the implementation of this agreement occurs amidst escalating international sanctions and diplomatic isolation. Military analysts note that North Korea's weapons exports to Russia have expanded its missile manufacturing capabilities, particularly in producing the KN-23 missile supplied to Russian forces. This industrial expansion suggests that North Korea is committed to a long-term military alliance with Russia. Despite the current challenges, some analysts, however, question the durability of this military partnership in the long run, particularly considering the economic imbalance between North Korea and its key trade partners. While Russia remains an important ally, it accounts for less than 2% of North Korea's international trade, with China dominating over 90% of the country's trade volume. This disparity in economic ties could influence the future trajectory of military cooperation, as North Korea may ultimately prioritize its traditional economic partnerships over the increasingly strained relationship with Russia. The future of the defense treaty remains uncertain, as bilateral trade between North Korea and China has declined from $160 billion in 2023 to $150 billion in the first 9 months of 2024. This decline may indicate a shift in North Korea's strategy, with Kim Jong-un potentially prioritizing military alliances with Russia over the economic ties with China that have historically been crucial to North Korea's survival. The evolving situation underscores the complex interplay between military, economic, and diplomatic considerations that will continue to shape the future of this partnership. As these tensions grow, it remains to be seen how the partnership will evolve. What do you think? How long can this alliance last? And what impact might it have on global security?